Welcome to Millennial Spectrum. It's Eric and the great Emil. I always wait for you to say your name, but you hesitate,
I
so
say
I just
it
say
really
it for
awkward. I can't do intros or outros.
you. We're doing one right now, so what do you got for us?
This is like conspiracy hour.
Boom!
We'll go from like mild to more intense.
Okay.
We'll start small.
And we take no claim for any of this. This is all just spitballing fantasy and idea that make no sense and have no basis in reality whatsoever, and we are not attesting to any of this information.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Okay, so do you remember, maybe not because you weren't really on TikTok, but the Tide Pod challenge?
I remember seeing stuff about it. Were people really eating Tide Pods? Or was that just a joke?
Allegedly, but I saw this claim that it was a big marketing ploy from Tide.
Oh.
And it was actually pretty convincing if you think about it, where they got a bunch of these TikTok kids to get you thinking that they were eating these Tide Pods. And whether you thought it was funny or thought it was dumb, you're talking about Tide Pods.
Right.
And sales actually went up during that time. It wasn't because people were eating it. It's not because people were
allegedly.
It's just because you kept hearing Tide Pods.
Right.
And so
it became synonymous.
It did. It's kind of like if you're the first, you're almost like the best in a way.
Okay. If you ain't first, you're last.
Because, I mean, what do we call AI? We call it ChatGPT, even though you could be using...
What do you call a tissue? A Kleenex. What do you call an ear swab?
Q-tip.
A Q-tip, right?
What do you call a search engine? Google. Google it.
Yeah, Google it.
So you kind of have to
I'll Google it on... People will say that. Oh yeah, let me Google it on... whatever, another search engine. I've seen people do that or heard people do that.
Right. And so it's like one of those things where I think that they just wanted to claim that space, the laundry space. And so they got allegedly, they could have gotten a bunch of kids to...
We've already disclaimed in the video. Well, I guess we should do it for other stuff too. But we've already disclaimed in the video, this is all just fantasy, crazy talk. And so we're just spitballing ideas and concepts here. Right. Just for fun. And if there's any similarities or names or anything that happen to match up to any business or anything else, we take no responsibility for tying anything whatsoever.
It's true. Now when you think about it, when you think about those laundry pods, you do kind of think about Tide Pods.
Yeah, you think of it as a Tide Pod.
I don't know if that's because of the Tide Pod challenge for me though.
Probably, I would guess.
But the sales did go up, so they accomplished something.
Nice. Way to go, guys.
Whatever you want. That one was kind of interesting. I saw this other one. We already talked about the mattress conspiracy. I saw this other one.
Well, it's not the mattress conspiracy. It's the mattress retailers conspiracy.
Which I keep driving by all these mattress stores.
There's a ton of them. There's no one ever in there.
But maybe, because, so, if you went to...
Do you think with how infrequent they sell stuff, every person who walks out the door, they should be like, woo, doing a champagne party.
Well, I heard that, the luxury market in airports... Mm-hmm. Well, maybe. So, you see, a Louis Vuitton store, and nobody's ever in those.
I'm always I'm more of a brokey, so I was like, I don't know who the hell is buying an $800 handbag in the airport.
That's the thing.
When I'm in the airport, I want less stuff, not more stuff. I could get if you forgot something, and you're like, oh, I forgot my good headphones at home, and I don't want to get crappy ones because I needed new ones anyway, so I might as well buy the nice Bose ones or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I understand that kind of purchase, but for me,
you're like, while I'm waiting in this airport, let me get myself a $2,000.
Yeah.
Nobody's
and
ever
it's just one more thing to carry while you're in the airport. I'm like, who is signing up for that?
So, yeah, that's what I thought too. But I heard that essentially they just have to sell one bag pretty much a month for it to pay off.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Well, then that's brilliant. I don't know about that because I do know a business owner who was looking at getting a restaurant into the local airport here when they did the expansion.
Okay.
And it was what I considered to be insanely expensive to rent in that space to get a property in there. I mean, it is wildly, wildly expensive.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, but evidently it pays off because those places do make money and they do have turnover, and you consider the volume that they operate. And the thing that always surprises me too is that there's dinner places in the airport right? And I know they have expanded hours, but if you have a space like that that's prime real estate space and it is only open for really dinner hours, like late lunch to dinner, that's not a lot of time to make your money.
Well, and you know what's wild too is, which I appreciate, but they basically passed a law in Utah that they have to charge the same prices in those restaurants that they charge outside.
Oh, okay.
So it's like you won't be paying more in there than you would be outside of it.
Okay, that's good.
So how do you even make your money back for the high rent costs?
It has to be volume. It has to be volume. I mean, there must be capitalizing some kind of volume and an expedited turnover. Like, I think also, too, you do have some nicer dining establishments there, but it's got to be a quicker seat turnover time. Otherwise, that'd be absurd. I mean, people aren't doing a 3-hour dining experience in an airport. And if they are, the airport staff is probably trying to throw them out of the restaurant.
I know. I do get to airports crazy early, though.
Oh, yeah.
Probably not like...
For dinner?
Well, the last time I was in the airport, I literally got there like 4 hours early.
4 hours? I get there early, but 4 hours early.
I think I was super paranoid. I had never been in like the new wing, and
You think you was super paranoid, or you think you is super paranoid?
Did I say that?
I don't know exactly how you say it. You'll have to record it, but
trust me, I rewatched this stuff and I was like, what am I saying?
Right, yeah.
Speaking of airports, though,
or conspiracy theories, which we were talking about.
The conspiracy of what's going on with these planes.
Oh.
There was this guy in Salt Lake. Brought to you by Neurogram.
Brought to you by Neurogram.
So he missed his plane and he was like, that made him really neurotic to the point where he somehow got into, like, past security and past everybody, somehow got into the engine of the plane and like, was unalive.
Found unalive?
Was found unalive.
Did he get sucked into the jet? Is it about that guy?
So,
okay, yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah, and I was just like, how is there not more? There's so much security to get into the airport, but there's none once you get past it.
You know what I say? Where there's a will, there's a way.
But what was he trying to do?
If you're non-compliant about general rules and regulations, there's probably a lot of things you could get yourself into.
Yeah.
Right? If you just don't follow the rules and it's like, oh, that's an employee area only, so I'm not going to do that. It's like, if you were just like, well, too bad, I'm going to walk through that door. There's probably a ton of places you could get to.
If you're confident enough.
People will not question you.
I don't know. Planes have always kind of freaked me out. I'm not going to lie. So it's not like these plane incidences are all of a sudden being like, oh, I'm scared to fly. I always was scared to fly.
That has kind of toned down though recently, right? And didn't it just kind of fall off the radar?
The last thing I heard.
Intended.
The last thing I heard was that 2 individuals were found unalive in the wheels of a plane.
Oh, wow.
That was like last week.
Wow. They took that nursery rhyme song a little too.
Oh my God.
No, it's a plane. Oh.
Good word, though.
Yeah, that's odd. So you mean like up in the storage compartment where the wheels go in?
I think so. And then that was like the last I heard of it. I didn't want to hear anymore, so I stopped.
Okay.
Not that I think I would ever get trapped in a wheel.
I think I saw something about that, like on a Mythbusters type of scenario, where they were talking about people trying to stow away in those wheels and just saying how cold it gets and how thin the air gets and how unlikely you would be to survive, and that people had tried that because they saw it in like a TV movie and then they obviously unalived themselves involuntarily.
That's the thing, is you watch TV involuntarily.
Accidentally, I guess would be the better way to say it.
Not planned. I do watch TV and everything is so like fanciful, I guess.
Right, yeah.
You know, I literally, Legally Blonde is the reason why I wanted to be a lawyer for so long. And then I was just like, it's not going to be like that. It's not like I get to like talk about fashion and law.
And throw out legal jargon?
Yeah. And randomly get into Harvard after taking the LSAT one time.
Right.
After never studying it ever. And then you kind of come to that realization where you're just like, it's actually not going to be like that at all. I'm trying to think of like a real life example that I've actually experienced where it wasn't anything like I thought. But I don't know if probably school. You always like see college as like depicted as a certain way on like TV and movies. And I wasn't in like My college experience is really different, and so maybe yours, because you were
like you were saying that, and I'm like,
maybe because you were like in a fraternity and stuff. Maybe it actually is like that.
Yeah, it pretty much was. It was pretty much like television, but with like a little bit more downtime, or a lot more downtime, let's say.
It wasn't as dramatic.
No, it was dramatic all the time. Oh my god. Yeah, dude, the crazy stuff. That's what I've thought a few times about writing a series just with the things that I can remember. I think I literally could do like a TV series with characters or caricatures of the people I lived with and the experiences and stuff like that. For sure.
Sometimes I hear stories about your life and I'm just like...
Well, and it's fun, like we talked about before. It's like you share some of these things and I just think of it as like, oh, normal stuff or whatever, or like a funny story. And then I tell someone and they're like, no way. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is like normal stuff, you know?
Yeah, I know. It's like normal to you.
Right. Like a great one was, just one that popped in my head. We had this ongoing rivalry with this other fraternity where we were literally doing stuff where it was just like in a TV show. Like there was this Pop-A-Shot, which is like a mini basketball game, and it was on the porch. And someone took it from the porch and put it in the student housing area of another place. And then someone broke into the student housing area and stole it back. Then someone else stole it again and was driving in the bed of a truck shooting shots while the other group was having a party. Just like, I mean, like the things that happen when you think about it, it's literally like you would see in like a TV movie, right? And there was just instant like that after instant after instant. But yeah, I mean, there were so many things. Really, it was a part of a good group of people who were just like, had fun, wildly entertaining, and yeah, just fun. So,
do you keep in contact with anybody?
Some. I mean, I could reach out right now and just be like, "Hey, give them a hard time," and it would be like you know,
like
we
no
were just,
time passed.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, other than we'd be talking like, "Holy cow, you look like 15 years older." When did you get all these kids? You know, like that would be probably the scenario that would break out. But because you get to know people on some kind of level where you don't know everything about them, but you have a good idea of how to interact with them or how they expect you to interact with them. So because you're around them so often, right? Just like friends or whatever. But you have to be good at it because you're in such a big group of people. And there's some people that, just like anything else, there's groups and cliques that develop. But for the most part, everyone has to be together whether they want to or not. Like you may still not like someone who's in the group, but you have to be with them. So you still have to know them. You still have to be able to interact with them. Where otherwhere in life you don't. So it's like, I don't know. It's a different experience. It's almost like having, I think of having like a bunch of siblings, like having a ton of siblings, and that's why they say fraternal brothers and things. But
because it felt like that.
To a degree, it does. Yeah.
So I guess maybe it is like what you see in the movies if you go to certain.
Yeah, I would say it's very much like that with a lot more downtime.
Another conspiracy. So I did talk about this briefly, but there is a conspiracy that a popular kids arcade that sells pizza recycles the pizza.
That was a fun one.
But what actually happened in 2020 was that everybody was struggling, right? This chain changed their name on Uber Eats so people would be like, let me try this new pizza.
I didn't know that. What was it listed as there?
Pasquale's Pizza, which is one of the characters' names. That's how somebody figured it out. They're like, wait a minute. They're like, this is the location of this kids arcade.
Yeah.
And this is like the pizza chef's name. And
that's pretty genius. Really.
And so
that's almost as good as our fashionably or sustainable inspired
by sustainability.
Yeah, inspired by sustainability.
If you add inspired in front of anything, then
it's all a word game. Life is a word game.
Yeah, I'm just like picturing all these people like ordering these pizzas and then finding out, oh my gosh.
They were just at some kid's party. Half of it. No, who knows? I mean, that sounds like an absurd thing because pizza really doesn't have... I feel like pizza shouldn't have a lot of overhead to it. It shouldn't be overly expensive to produce a semi-decent pizza, right?
No.
To where you'd need to recycle it. That sounds wild to me.
I will say
maybe there was like one franchise that did it.
There's always got to be one that like ruins it.
That's true. That's the way it works in life.
I've never worked food though, so I don't have food horror stories.
There's some stuff that people do for sure. I mean, think of like, let's say you're talking percentages, right? And there's 1 out of 100 people that might do something ridiculous, but still, when you multiply that over the amount of people that work in the food industry.
When you think about how immature people are.
Oh my gosh.
You do not want to mess with people who make your food, though.
Right.
You want to be extremely nice. And even still, you could still get burned. I will never go into a restaurant right before they close.
Oh, because they get mad that you're there.
I feel like it.
Then close earlier. It's not my fault. I'm trying to get in here. Right?
I know.
I think I just did that to J-Dogs. I think they were about to close. I was like, dude, I just want a hot dog.
Do you think they cared?
Maybe, but it was like at the 30. So if they closed at the hour, it's like, go F off. If it was like 5 till and I walk in there, like, I understand that. Like, okay, it's 8. If it was like 7:55 and you close at 8 and I walk in at 7:55 and I cost you to be there till 8:10 or whatever,
then it's like...
then you could kind of be upset with me or whatever you want to do. But if it's 7:30, or 6:30, it's like, screw yourself.
I know, it's like, you're fine. Working in a place that does that, I do understand when somebody comes like right at the end. But at the same time, though, you really are being paid to be there. So it's...
Well, your difference, though, is experience time. Someone who's coming in just to collect food is going to cost you 10 minutes of your time, right? Or if you still have the dining area sitting down, that's when they're going to take longer. But if they're not like... the thing you're dealing with has to do with experience time. People are looking to experience like an hour or more when they come in. They're not looking to experience 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It's not a short duration thing.
Yeah, so that's probably not like the most like fair comparison.
Well, no, I was gonna say there's more reason to be on level of irritation there than it is in my opinion, in a to-go food place.
Yeah, I know. I've never worked one, but some of those videos that I see seems like they have a hard job sometimes with the guests. They just get so upset.
There's some terrible people out there. There's some real not nice people. Yeah, it's wild to see how some people handle things and how they react and the way they treat others. It's like they act as if the place that you're working at is representative of the person who's standing in front of them, which I get that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
So inversely, like if you were to act poorly, then you're representing the place, and so the place doesn't want you to act that way. But when the shoe's on the other foot and the person's addressing you as if you're the owner of the place, right? Or the operator or the corporate, right? If someone doesn't like a coffee chain, so they come attack you like, oh, these beans are, you're treating the farmers terribly and blah, blah, blah. You're like, bro, I just pour coffee.
I know.
Give me a break.
I know. Which makes you think like nobody's actually canceled.
Yeah, I mean, you are. It does have an impact. And if you bend the knee at the time and continue on down the road to the beaten, you get beaten. But there are some of those who just say, no, go do your, take this. I'm going to go ahead and do my thing. And they're fine. Yeah. Or they find a new group that supports them in their, like the moral outrage group, depending on what it is, right?
Yeah.
If it's something that's not universally accepted as moral outrage, you're more likely to find a clique or a group that will support you, and then those people really bolster you. Like I've seen some people who get canceled and then get support from another group and grow even bigger than what they were.
We've seen that a lot lately.
Yeah, that's kind of been the thing. It's almost been like people have been like letting themselves get canceled or say opinions to get rocketed into a stratosphere in another group.
We love a redemption arc.
Yeah, there is something to that.
There is another conspiracy that these famous brothers, who are, one of them is known for a certain tree in Japan or one of those countries, who's now a fighter and owns a hydration drink.
Okay. There's
some speculation.
When you say a forest, known for a forest, not a tree, it was a forest, right?
It was a forest, but wasn't it a unaliving tree was the name? But I guess you're right. Like forest is more so what it was known for.
Yeah, that was the event. Okay.
There is a lot of speculation that whole thing was planned.
Which, the fight or the...
No, the tree. Like
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of people thinking that was all staged because honestly, nobody was really talking about him all that much before that. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, boom.
Yeah.
They say all publicity, or what is it? Like, there's no such thing as, like, bad publicity.
Well, you just gave that in our earlier discussion. We were talking about effectively that, right? With the tithe.
Right.
With the pods, right? And how that propelled them to more relevancy with kind of bad publicity.
I know. So you can kind of make that argument. And then, so there's that.
What a bunch of super sleuths, though, that they finally jumped on that bandwagon. What has it been, like 15 years or something? Or
it has to have been at least a decade, because I don't know if I was still in school or just recently graduated, but...
Oh, high school?
Yeah, college. No, high school.
A lot of people go to school that long. Yeah, they're called Emily, or they're called doctors, Emily.
Well, and then
they're
also...
called Emily's.
We'll just rename it. So that was Logan, but Jake used to...
She spent all this time trying to be covert about it. Then she's like, oh, let's just go over.
It's too hard to be vague. I won't say their last name, but it's just our Jay.
Ooh. Leave you to speculate.
Jay used to he used to have a vlogging house. I don't know if you ever heard about the Hype House. But he used to have a Hype House, or a Team 10. He used the Team 10 house, and there was 10 vloggers in there.
Okay.
And basically all they would do is just make content all day long for their TikToks. It got like out of hand really fast because it's like nothing was off limits. Like you couldn't even sleep in there without somebody like dumping
Messing
water on you just to get like the content or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And so that fizzled out really fast. Yeah. But again, did it fizzle out really fast, or is it just that's how he kind of... I think everything is planned.
Yeah.
But I guess...
So they're either geniuses or really lucky. But either way, you know. I mean, worst case scenario, you're saying they're just getting lucky. Best case scenario, you're kind of hinting at they're incredibly intelligent.
I think, honestly, the people at the top are. There's a certain... See, I don't know. It's like, am I allowed to say names or can I not?
I don't know, just throw it out there. This is all conspiracy and conjecture and just totally us making things up.
Disclaimer. I think like the whole Paris Hilton, that's such an act. I think she's actually really highly intelligent.
You think so?
I do.
I don't know, I saw that video. Well, yeah, true. But yeah, I was like, man, I saw a lot of videos of her. No, I saw that video of her and Lionel Richie's daughter driving those like mini bikes drunk or whatever, and I was just like,
oh, Nicole, because she used to be. They were on like that Simple Life show or whatever.
I guess, and you know, that was before that, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, everything I've seen that's relevant in my memory was just stuff that was nationally broadcast and made a bunch of news that I happened to catch a clip of. I was never interested in that. I was never really drawn. I'm also a guy. I feel like a lot of guys, like, we're like, oh, watching sports and that kind of stuff. We don't get caught up in much of the celebrity stuff. Now, I think this generation, it's different, where they can more idolize people like a Jake or Logan or whomever.
Because they're influencers. The influencers is a relatively, I say relatively like within the like decade, but like it's still a relatively like new thing. Growing up, we just kind of had celebrities. We didn't have those like influencers until social media.
Well, we did on television shows, right? And there were these false impressions of who we thought they would be. Yeah. So, you know, the actors of the day.
Kind of like a
Michael J. Fox, or like you know, people wanted to be, when I was growing up, that's who they wanted to be like, right? They dressed like or acted like.
I saw this thing. That whole thing reminded me, like, you know, the George Foreman grill.
Yeah, knock out the fat.
It was supposed to be Hulk Hogan.
Oh, I think I remember seeing something about that.
But he was just like, oh, I don't know.
It blew up.
George Foreman. And so
But to be fair to Hogan, if it was Hogan Grill, I don't think it would have done as well.
You don't think so?
What was it going to be, the Hulkster Grill or something? First of all, George Foreman Grill was amazing. And his little slogan about knock out the fat. Like, George Foreman is what made that thing interesting.
But I don't think I would have ever heard of this guy without that grill, to be honest.
Right. It's the George Foreman grill.
But I've heard of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but George Foreman was hugely famous too. I mean, he was a heavyweight champion boxer, fought Ali, and he was obviously an incredible striker, super powerful.
But I guess like Hulk Hogan was so mad or upset about it that he made his own like kitchen gadget.
Oh, did he really? Just recently or what?
No, like a few years ago when it was like because people don't really have George Foreman grills anymore.
Right. He's like, now's the time to strike.
I'll have to like.
He's still. I mean, there's probably stuff he could have done, like selling electric guitars or something like that.
Electric guitar.
Yeah, because he played guitar, right?
Oh, I didn't. I just know him as like.
He played in a band while he was wrestling, like when he was first wrestling. Yeah.
These people want to be like celebrities though, so it kind of makes sense that you would be all aspects of that.
Yeah.
Not a grill, but it's something like some other that it just did not do. Because I watch these dumb YouTube videos while I'm getting ready for the day or whatever, and I watch this one guy like buy forgotten like celebrity products, and it was
that's funny.
Because for some people, if they see that it's by a celebrity, they'll buy it instantly.
Okay. Like a certain celebrity that they happen to be a fan of?
Yeah, like the brother and a certain famous YouTuber created a pizza that you can buy in the store.
Oh.
That's a lot like...
Man, she's not as good at this. You're not as good at it as I am. You leave so much to be desired. That's like... I could imagine someone watching this just like, what the hell is she talking about? All right, so the Jake and Logan, yeah.
Okay,
there's a pizza?
Logan and Mr. Beast made a...
Oh, the Lunchable?
And
you said like the pizza. I was like, what?
Probably killing it because...
Could be. Oh, because they're so famous and popular and it's got their stuff in there.
And I will say...
Well, I'll just go right out and say I'm not eating that thing. I'm not giving it I'm certainly not giving it to my kids.
Because of the preservatives in it, probably. Well,
I don't even know what's in it.
I
don't even know. I don't even care. I just know I'm going to go with something. I'm going to go with a different choice. I'm going to make a different choice.
You say it so matter of fact.
I almost want to have it just to show myself that I can.
Should I bring it in next time?
Yeah, bring it. Yeah, just so that I have to eat my own words.
Would you? If I bought it, I feel like you'd be like, I'm not eating this, and I'd be stuck with this.
No, I might eat I might eat it just to be like, I'll be fine. Just like I'd be willing. I'm like, I don't know. There's
fine. It's like challenge accepted.
Yeah, there's some other things that are terrible things for me that I would consume just to consume, I guess. Right? So I could add that to the list of things. Who knows? Maybe it's amazing. Maybe I'm just completely jaded by reality.
Fine, because you've never...
It could be... Wow.
It's like your new personality trait to be like eating this pizza. No,
wait, you see like the video has a sponsorship for it at the bottom and I'm just like, I got the lunch.
I'm guessing you've never had his candy bar or I know you've never had that hydration drink because you've said that you never will. So I'm going to make you eat your words now because I know where to find it. I saw it the other day. And
I'm sure it's everywhere.
It's probably, I don't know. I think it's like $3. So
$3? For what? The drink or for what?
The whole thing.
What? $3? That's incredibly inexpensive. What is in it?
We're going to find out.
Yeah.
It's like... I did see on TikTok though, somebody bought it and it was like full of mold. Oh, I'm sure they have corrected that issue.
I'm sure
now.
There was an issue as to why that happened.
Of course, people love to be like sensationalized. She could have left it out for all I know.
Yeah, or it could just be one that got damaged in shipping and had something happen. That happens. That's not like it's not like they're there packing each individual one and being like, okay, this one's good to go. I put my life behind it, you know.
And I do like sympathize a little bit with this person, but it is just funny to read people's comments online and they just don't think things through before they comment it. Because Mr. Beast, I guess, just like broke this record on YouTube where he has more subscribers than like there are US citizens or whatever. Like,
which is wild to me because he's done some pretty cool conceptual stuff, but nothing that I was like, oh my God, this is it. And he just knows how to do it, you know?
He knows the game or has help.
Yeah, well, we're in conspiracy hour, so there was
all bets are
discussion
off.
about him being involved. All of a sudden, receiving funds from federal funds was the discussion that I saw, and then it led into, was this not what was going on the whole time? Because you don't have to give people actual funds; you can just help them out, make their channel grow, just like.
Yeah.
We learned about in the elections that certain people were putting pressure on certain platforms, and an individual just came out and made a 5-minute speech about the fact that was occurring. That used to be a conspiracy theory. And then he was literally apologizing for doing just that. Well, that's what I would also call election interference, in my opinion. If you're intentionally suppressing information about the election as a public platform like that, a town forum, and now you're putting your thumb on the scale. If you just let it run wild, I don't care. You let it run wild, and there happens to be 1 million people from, the motherland over there that infiltrate it and put out information. Well, that's up then to the U.S. individual in the town square to make heads or tails of it. But when you, as a platform, put your thumb on it and suppress information and make it ideal, control the lens of viewing for that, you are now involved in that, and you are no longer a platform. And so, in my opinion, that is interfering in the political process.
100%. And I guess since this is like conspiracy hour, I think he knew exactly what would have happened if he didn't start complying. So basically, when the next president was voted in, he met with him pretty fast. Meta guy did. And so everybody was wondering, like, why?
When I was human.
And then all of a sudden he comes out and he basically has a similar platform to X. I mean, it is just like a similar idea or plan of action, I guess. Like, he's moving to Texas. He's going to have community notes. He's going to... And the fact that the owner of Twitter has
community notes is great, by the way. More platforms really need to use it. It's often hilarious.
Who is the community notes though?
Community.
Could I be?
Yeah.
But then could I not just make up something and be like...
You could, but then it gets reviewed by all the people in community notes.
So it's better than Wikipedia?
It's a collective of everyone who's involved in it, it's like determining what's BS and what's not. And you have to bring the receipts.
Okay.
You have to have support. And then if you put up a bad community note, it gets voted on. So community note literally has like, was this helpful or not? Yes or no. And then it's like, if it was, what was good about it? It was easy to understand. It directly addressed the post claim. It lists like 6 or 7 different things. And then inversely, if you say somewhat, it says, okay, what didn't you like about it? Or if you say no, it says, what didn't you, it gives you just the things that you didn't like about it. So somewhat allows you to kind of be between yes and no and talk about, like, yes, it cites correct sources, but no, it doesn't use neutral, unbiased language. It uses
that makes sense.
Right? And so everyone gets to vote on it then. And that's why community notes is amazing.
Well, it's coming to probably every social media platform.
They need it.
I do think that, though, Musk and Zuckerberg and all of them must be working together, because the fact that, like, Musk has not made any tweet about this Zuckerberg thing at all.
Yeah, that's unusual. And then that guy puts out 1 billion tweets a day.
About everything.
He's a top-ranked player in Diablo in the world. One of the highest-ranked players in the world in Diablo. He runs SpaceX, runs Tesla, is involved on the board of those, runs X, and then is constantly making comments on X about everything that's going on in life. And then apparently has multiple alternate burner accounts that he talks to himself with.
I forgot about that. Yeah. That's old.
That one, Altman. Right? What is the one account? I forget. But I started following that account a long time ago before the controversy over him sounding like Elon Musk. And I forget how it got exposed to me. But so I started following him just for his tweets. I found it interesting. He gives good information, insightful. And then I listened to one of his lives where they talk and they do spaces.
Oh, like spaces? Yeah.
I listened to his space. I was like, oh, this dude's talking to Elon Musk. He must be pretty important. And then I realized it was the guy. And
but he sounded so...
not even does he sound like him, but his mannerisms and the way he speaks. And he's got that stutter sometimes when he's going and transitioning between thoughts. Like that guy does that perfectly. And there's all these mannerisms that he has that he shares with Elon. But then when he gets upset, his delivery changes and it doesn't sound as much like him.
Like Elon. Interesting. Yeah. That was a big conspiracy for a while too, is that Elon, I'm sure he has burner accounts.
Well, they talk to each other on Spaces.
So how is that even possible?
Yeah, I was like...
Although, do you see them on Spaces? Because he could just be like, blah, 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 blah.
He very well
blah,
could.
Yeah. Which would be wild and probably pretty unlikely, but...
Why would you do that?
I guess maybe to prove that it's not you.
Yeah.
But I think he has bigger things to worry about, honestly. But also...
I'm sure he has burner accounts, though.
100%.
Don't you think? I would assume that it would be accounts that have smaller followings that say wildly incendiary things underneath his tweets.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like the things that he wants to say. Like he already pretty much says things that are fairly wild for a public eye, for a billionaire who has so much riding on the line. Like the goleons on that individual to say some of the things he does say is pretty...
And you know he's holding back.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. He is still holding back. So I would assume his burner accounts would be the ones that are saying inflammatory, incendiary type deals.
100%. And so I wouldn't even blame him. But the fact that he has not mentioned anything about Zuckerberg, essentially kind of copying a lot of his models, makes me realize like they probably are all working together.
Or chatting.
Yeah. And Zuckerberg's smart to do it because it's the new administration. And so instead of getting in trouble for blocking it, just coming forward and being like,
he's trying to get ahead of it for sure.
He's trying to get ahead of it.
Well, then he's also got Dana White on his board. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Dana White and the Orange Man are very tight.
I didn't realize that. So it seems, but what's funny to me is at one point in time, Elon was going to fight Zuckerberg, or he wanted to. Yeah. He literally like was at
openly challenged him.
He's like, I'm at your front door. Whether he was or wasn't, I don't actually know. But he was just like, I'm at your front door right now.
Elon is wild, dude. He's a wild guy.
Zuckerberg would destroy him though. I mean, because he's been training.
Well, Musk is no pushover. I mean, I don't know what that guy does, but he seems to do everything. But he's also trained in martial arts.
That makes sense. So on Christmas, I do know Elon did come out and say that he did use some form of weight loss drug. He said it wasn't actually Ozempic, but it was an off-brand of that. Because he called himself Ozempic Santa. I don't know if you saw that, but he was just like, well, it wasn't actually Ozempic. It was blah, blah, blah. I don't know what it was, but... So he did do that, I think, to initially help him lose the weight. But then he said he was doing fasting after that.
That's all you need to do. Total fabricated conspiracy that if you were to start off your mornings fasting and go on a high-protein diet and eliminate as many sugars and carbs and stuff from your body as possible, you will be feeling the best you've ever felt at 43 years old. The strongest you've ever felt.
I love how you just like... I love carbs, though.
Once you get off of them, you realize how heavily addicted you are to them. It is tough to get off of them totally.
It's true. I used to buy candy all of the time and always have it like at the desk and stuff. And because, it's just your cravings do change.
I do find that with my changes, I've done a lot more like gum, mints, that kind of stuff. Maybe not so much mints, but definitely gum. And
mints is still my, like, I love mints because it does kind of curb a lot of cravings because you just...
I like to have something in my mouth now. I found that when I was wanting something to eat, what I did, I actually wanted a hot chocolate. I was like, you know what? I want a hot chocolate. And then one of the people where I go to get my steak from all the time was like, you want a hot chocolate? And I was like, yeah, kind of. And they're like, oh, because I never do anything like that. And then I got a toothpick. And I was like, I had my steak and I had a toothpick and I was completely satiated. I didn't want a hot chocolate anymore.
And that could be the thing with those like pouches too. That could be a big part of it. So. I'm not saying good, bad, or whatever. It's just that could be part of it. Yeah. Because, I mean, there is another conspiracy out there that, I don't even know how many words I can say, but the substance in those pouches maybe not as like detrimental as they initially said it was.
Yeah, well, we're seeing a lot of that. Andrew Huberman has come out and said pretty point blankly, this increases blood pressure. This increases neuroproductivity. You can take too much, but if you take moderate amounts, you're going to pretty much just have a increased, increased focus and ability, and there's not a lot of downside. And this idea that it creates these other issues is not from that substrate, that the substrate got associated with other things that may have been causing issues. But if you get the substrate, the nicotine, if you get nicotine by itself, then it's not as much of an issue.
And like I said, live your best life or whatever. I just think that like maybe the information we've been getting isn't the information that's necessarily true.
Well, I've always said it for a long time, is that gym bros know what's going on before anyone else.
And are they still on that wagon of pouches?
Yeah. But I just mean like that group of individuals in our populace treats themselves like guinea pigs. And they are the most concerned with all the negative effects versus the positive outcomes, and weighing it and then proving to each other that they understand. Like, there is so much trial and error that goes on with that stuff between supplements and anything that improves cognition or athletic performance or vascular dilation or anything that can improve themselves physically, improve their physicality, that also then improves other areas of their body that are life. They will try, they will let other gym bros know about.
Well, they're really, not there, but we're all like vain, but especially if you're going to the gym and you're trying to look your best physically, you're not going to do something that's going to make you look worse.
Right. Yeah.
Like 100% you're not.
And getting sick, getting addicted, having all these negative consequences are not things that they're down for. So
you should trust them.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, you could trust them through trial and error. The fact that they put themselves through it. Yeah.
I think the only thing, though, is we just don't know long-term effects of a lot of stuff.
You could say that with anything. Longitudinal studies is something that's difficult to do and difficult to show because you're talking about a long period of time.
Even electric car bars, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah. We've seen that time and time again. Long-term effects of things that they said, oh, we tried this, we fed it to them, they were fine, they were able to digest it, they look good. And then you find out 25 years later that slow accumulation causes you to grow a horn in the middle of your head.
I know, right?
Yeah. And so that is something, maybe not that example, but that is something that plays out regularly in our society.
Moral of the story is you just got to live your life.
Yeah.
To the best that you can.
The best you can. Conspiracy hour. Live your life the best you can.
We'll make a shirt.
Not a conspiracy. All right, good. Well, that's pretty good for today. I don't know. What else? Well, we talked about the fires.
It's too early to know about the fires. There are a lot of people that are trying to make links to the famous mansion.
Yeah, that's an interesting point I hadn't really considered. That, okay, total conspiracy hour, not reliable, just conjecture and conversation. But people are wondering and having conversation with the fact that it's in a peculiar area in a lot of high-end homes that happen to be tied into an area that some people think has to deal with, trafficking of individuals and bad decisions and potentially underground type activities, and a lot of the things that were alluded to in the lawsuits involving the former rapper, Mr. Diddy, right? So people are speculating and wondering if it's almost like a cleansing of that area to cover up evidence of ongoing activities that had occurred.
Which is honestly really sad because a lot of people are getting pathway of that. If that is true, like a lot of people lost their house.
And then you've got the insurance, which we know the insurance. But I also said, like, insurance companies are in the business of making money. They're not in the business of losing money. So the fact that they pulled out the coverage there when a lot of people on a national stage were telling you that place was a tinderbox and a massive issue makes total sense to me, because they look at it and they say, like, I had life insurance training, and they look at it and say, like, what's the likelihood you're going to make it to this age? Are you going to make it to this age? What's your health like? What's your risk level? What's the risk of paying out? Great.
Right.
And that's how they figure it out. So they looked at the risk of paying out those insured homes there in those areas and said it's a high likelihood. So there's not enough money that we could charge to make this happen. So they pulled out. So I understand people going the conspiracy route, making it like that. But inversely, then now you've got the current president of the United States claiming that they're going to pay 100% of the losses there. So
I just saw that, for 180 days.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. So again, it is a little too early for the fires, but of course,
well, then you got the other conspiracy that's going on right now too about the DEWs, the directed energy weapon type stuff. People are trying to pull that back into and say because the trees aren't burnt and because of the weird burn patterns, how like all the trees are up and the leaves are on the trees, but yet all the homes are roasted to the ground and the cars are melted.
Yeah.
Then there's like trash cans, pictures of homes burnt to the ground with like blue recycling trash cans. And supposedly there's a wavelength of blue that, works against against those directed energy weapons. And then this kind of gets further installed from that idea of the blue roofs. If you look into Hawaii and Maui and some different areas, there's some homes with blue roofs. And then it also goes into a foreign nation that's currently producing blue roofs in mass and selling those. And that's kind of a big movement over in another country.
It just makes you wonder, though. It's like, why did they pick that area? But maybe it's because they knew that, like, if they wanted to test something out, they knew it would be fine, like it'd be protected, like it'd be covered, I guess. Financially, it'd be more covered.
I don't know, it's just something to talk about. And we should be able to talk about it without people being persecuted over it. Now, if you're going out there and trying to hold people accountable to it and you don't have any facts to back it up, that's a whole different thing.
That's what's so fun about conspiracy theories, I guess, is just it's fun to just have the conversation, to just like have an open mind to it, but it's when you, I guess, take it too far that's what people are saying.
Yeah, but they're trying to say that people are taking it too far through having conversation and be like, it's a hop, skip, and a jump from having this conversation we're having to pulling up to the Trump Tower loaded with gasoline and fireworks in the back of my Tesla. And those are worlds apart.
I mean, yeah.
And that's honestly the truth of that matter. And so they try and link those two things together like as if they're synonymous, and they're clearly not.
I think there's a definite difference between that. I mean, I saw this one video where this one guy was just like, I was almost a school pewer or whatever, and like said exactly how he was going to do it and how he like planned it, but then decided last minute that he wasn't going to. And I was just like, that guy should be on a watch list. But it's like, because
he probably was.
Maybe that's why he came out.
Every time it's like conspiracy hour, just total conspiracy, but there's government agencies that are watching these individuals, and almost every single one of these that I see the report is like, was known by this 3-letter agency, they knew that it was on their watch list. It's like, well, what good is this watch list? Either it's the best watch list ever and like they are the most accurate ever, but they're just not allowed to do anything. Like, right? Like they're just cursed with inability to take action, but they know exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. Or they're involved in it, or they're, right? And on that, we'll leave it there because I'm getting tired. This is Millennial Spectrum. This was Conspiracy Hour mixed in with whatever we felt like talking about hour. Nothing that we said in here had any accuracy or any validity. It was all just conjecture and random conversation about crazy, oddball topics. Thank you so much for joining us, subscribers. We appreciate your support and love. I added an S to it, subscribers. We appreciate your love and support, and anything you could do to help us out within legal limits would be great. So like, subscribe, share with your family, friends, and loved ones. Make a comment. Look to see you out there. Thank you so much.